Hello. Welcome back. Catherine Langman here, back with another episode of the Productpreneur Success podcast. So welcome to the show if you are a new listener, and of course, welcome back to all our long-time listeners. So hands up if you've ever felt a little bit like your social media is some kind of content consuming monster that needs to be fed all the time, that coming up with new content ideas or finding time to actually create that content, shoot the images, the videos, write the captions, etc. That coming up with all of that feels like a full-time job that you just don't have time for. I know, that's been me in the past, and I know lots of small business owners who really struggle with this, and it just becomes something that gets put on the back burner and therefore doesn't really happen in any kind of consistent way. So today on the show, I'm actually welcoming back one of my past guests who is an absolute genius with this stuff, and she's about to make this really easy and really accessible for all of you, which is super exciting. But before we get there, I just want to preface this topic of content creation for social media by talking about how important it is to support the rest of your marketing and advertising efforts. And by that, I mean getting the better results overall. And it comes down to really understanding the competing priorities between social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram versus your brand, your priorities as the brand owner. And of course, the platforms want to make money, and for that, they need to have users spending time on the platforms. And they, of course, need brands to spend money on advertising. And small business actually accounts for 70% of their advertising revenue. So it's hugely important for the social media platforms, right? But users will only spend time on the platform if there is value for them in doing so. And that, typically means great engaging content for them that is of interest to them, whether that's content from their friends or their family or from people or brands that they're interested in. But, that kind of great engaging content is not going to be all of the ads that want to drive traffic off to the online stores, right? Of course, we need to send traffic off Facebook and Instagram over to our websites to purchase in order for our advertising dollars to give us a profitable return on investment. So there is this inherent conflict of interest in place here. There's a real tension going on between all of these varying priorities, which begs the question, how do we balance these competing priorities so that we keep the platform happy and we also make money for our business? So to succeed with advertising on the platforms, you kind of need to be a really good citizen of the platforms and kind of play that game in order to train the algorithm in your favor. And this comes into your content strategy, and it contributes to the kind of success, the results that you want to achieve with driving traffic and sales to your store. So if we plan our content strategy around the type of content that is most popular, we're more likely to get more reach, more, appeal to bigger audiences and enjoy higher levels of engagement, aka keeping the platforms happy, playing the rules, right? Because we're contributing to keeping the audiences spending time on the platforms. And in doing so, we've actually also done something that's in favor for ourselves. We've created really big and engaging in-channel audiences that are basically primed for the pump, ready for you to show ads to them, to invite them to your online store to purchase your products. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. If you do want to know more about that kind of full ad strategy that's working for e-commerce right now, then you can watch an instant replay of my full workshop that I ran very recently on this topic. And you can get that by going to catherinelangman.com/ad-workshop. We'll put the link to that in the podcast show notes. But for now, let's invite Sharon Hunter onto the show and get her take on all things content creation for e-commerce brands. And I really highly recommend getting a notepad and pen out for this one. She's going to be making it really easy for us. Welcome back to the show, Sharon. I was going to say welcome to the show, but welcome back. It's great to have you here again.
Yes, there I am.
So we had you, I was trying to remember, I think it would have been a year or so ago, we had you on the show,
I
and
think so. Yeah.
talking about your first business, which was Amondo Kids, which you have successfully gone on to sell, and now you've started your new business earlier this year, and it's going absolutely great guns. So Snap My Brand being the new business, yeah?
Yes, correct. Yes, it's how things have turned out, right? And so
Fantastic.
quickly too. Like the business sold very quickly, and I thought I'll catch a break, and
Good
relax,
luck with
and
that.
yeah, so yeah, I'll have time to strategize what I want to do, and no, it's just been go, 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 see, which is great. I'm not complaining, but yeah, it's definitely going. Yeah.
It's been a big year for you, really getting this business underway, and it has really grown, which is exciting. So, just before we dive in, do you want to tell our listeners and our viewers what is Snap My Brand? So, what are you doing these days, and who are you doing it for?
Sure. So Snap My Brands basically started the idea. I actually started it while I was already running the kids. And I was doing a lot of content creation on the side for other brands that I mostly was collaborating with along with my product. And I realized that I really enjoyed doing the side of it, but obviously I couldn't give 100% because I had the main business to run. So now that I can put 100% on it, I absolutely love it. So I love anything to do with product photography. I do a lot of lifestyle too, but I prefer to stick to product photography and especially stop motion and product videos. I really, really enjoy the creative and the strategy behind it, and understanding how the animation works. I just find it really intriguing and captivating. I could watch stop motion videos for like hours a day and try and think in my little brain, how did they make that work? It's just so engaging. So yeah, that's what is taking me to wanting to do this full time now, and I just really enjoy it. And because I had a product-based business, I think I understand obviously, how hard you work behind the scene to run a product-based business. It's not easy, right? But I also understand what customer look for in a product, and how to make them see what your product needs to showcase, in a different way, in an engaging way. So yeah, that's what I do. A bit of everything, really. Photos, videos, stop motion, lifestyle.
Yes, yes, yes. So we're going to talk a little bit about some examples of the content that you have been creating for some of your clients and our clients as well this year. But before we get into that, how important would you say that it is for brands to have this, kind of creative content now? I mean, we're sort of towards the end of 2022. How important is that for brands, and, should they be prioritizing that in their business?
Oh, 100%. Video, it's just at the top at the moment. I mean, it has been for a while now. But I think video is how you really get your customer to engage with you and your product and to understand it. Like there are a lot of lazy customers out there, that are lazy browsing, and all they want to do is just look at videos. They don't want to read a long product description and scroll through infographics. Like a video it's quick, it's engaging, it makes you watch it, you understand it because you see it in news, whichever type of video obviously you're talking about. But it's the biggest thing at the moment. I was actually looking at some statistic that I saved here, so I thought we'd bring them up. Now, where is it? Here. So the amount of online video watched per person per week has almost doubled since 2018. And as of 2022, it's at 18 hours per week. Isn't it crazy?
It's mind-blowing.
18 hours per week. I mean, that's like a part-time job.
It is, isn't it? I mean,
right? It's crazy. And what it says here, this consumer behavior has made video, short form specifically, the primary form of media use within any content strategy for the third year in a row.
yeah.
And adding a product video to your landing page can increase conversion by 80%, which I thought was pretty mind-blowing. And I really start to see a lot of that now. Every time you go, not every time, but most of the time when you go onto a product page, there is a little video, even if it's not, the most spectacular video. But I know I directly go to that because I want to see if it looks, you know, in real life, what it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do see it. I mean, you see it in, you know, online fashion stores where, you know,
Yeah.
your image might be a model, you know, turning around in the outfit or whatever, as well as, yeah, the demo video type things as well on landing pages. But, you know, you were saying before the short form video content for, I guess, specifically social media, that's really kind of the most popular at the moment, which,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that ties in with what we're seeing from an advertising perspective as well. That's really getting the most reach and the, you know, the most engagement and better performance results as well, which is great. But so, you know, I guess in terms of, you know, ad results, it's working really well. But would you say also just in terms of stopping the scroll and literally getting eyeballs on your content, do you see video and I guess reels specifically being where it's at?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the whole point, isn't it? Is to stop people um, watching these videos so they stay on the platform, right? So if you have an engaging video on your website and they stop and watch and they stay there, Google will be like, hold on a second, they're staying on the page for long, so I'm going to rank them higher because they like it. And it's the same with Instagram or Facebook, you know, they're like, you keeping this person on our platform, we love it, so we'll bump you up in our algorithm, you know, like video, it's so important. I think is how you connect also with your audience, because that's how they create the rapport with you. They, you know, they connect with the brand, with you, with the whole you know, culture that you have about your brand, you know, it keeps them engaged and it builds trust at the end of the day, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So recently, oh, it's probably a few weeks ago now, you came into our academy and you ran a little training session with our group,
Yeah, that
me,
was fun.
and which was awesome. And so in that session, you were kind of helping everyone to learn how is the easiest way to get started and to try and be, you know, as efficient with managing their time and just getting that kind of done. So let's kind of go through just the nutshell version of how to get started for our listeners. We won't do the whole session today.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's just remembering to take a few shots throughout the day, you know, that is might be behind the scene, that it might be packing an order, that it might be you know, somebody send you an email and they ask a question about a product that they either couldn't find or they couldn't, you know, bother look through the frequently asked question. But you know, you always get the same questions, right? So you're like, do a little film. Okay, I'll do this one for this clients because they ask how to use this product, you know, collect all that content. And then, you know, even if it's just once a month when you do your strategy, you know, that is either with a marketing team like yours or yourself on a spreadsheet, you know, plan ahead for the month, you know which days you're going to do what topics, and then just kind of build up that way. And if you plan ahead, you don't have to panic on the day going like, oh my God, what am I going to post today? I don't know what to write. You know, if you don't spend 2 hours in a week, you know, like that's it. That's your whole week plan. And then you can use tools like, you know, Canva for images, but for video, I love InShot. I found it so easy, straightforward, is user-friendly and intuitive. I hate doing reels directly on Instagram. It's very glitchy. There's always something that doesn't work quite right. But just putting, I don't know, maybe it's just mine. But just putting a few shots together, you know, and with reels, I remember saying, I think it was Michelle in the academy, and I told her about the template. You know, you have these templates that when you're scrolling through reels, you'll see some of the trending sound will go above and say little template, and you can press on that. And it's all done for you. The music is selected, the space out and the timing is selected. All you have to do is just put in, drag and drop your photos or videos, and it puts it together, and that's done. That literally takes 5 minutes if you already had a caption prepared to go with it.
That's
So
right.
it's not, you know, it's not crazy hard. Like you can make it hard, but I think also it's important that you do stuff that is related to your brand. I mean, don't go and try and be somebody you're not, you know, because you see this multi-million-dollar brand that is similar, that is doing these things. You don't have to do what they're doing because you're not them. So just do what is relevant to you, to your brand, and to who you are. And I think that will come across as genuine and engaging anyway. And then, you know, ask for help if you don't know how to do it. There's always somebody that is happy to help.
That's right. Yeah. You've just reminded me, I was having a look at one of our clients' Instagram pages just the other day, and it's Inspirational Tea Co. They have it's gift boxes with tea and, you know, bickies and, you know, other tea, high tea related products that you might have together. And they were sort of introducing their Christmas range, and it had a reel and it had a little gingerbread biscuit that kept moving. And it was like, you know, leaning into the cup and
Oh, it's Mickey now. Cute.
or, you know, and it was super cute and kind of a little bit amusing, and it just totally fitted in with what they were doing. But also, you know, because it was entertaining, so you know, it didn't feel like it was a salesy product video or anything like that. It was just really entertaining. So
yeah,
that was a great example there.
Yeah, super creative. I
Very
love
easy to
that.
get going. So yeah.
Yeah, and I know when we did the session on your group, do you remember? Forgot her name. From French Soda.
Yes, Ashley.
Ashley, that's right, Ashley. And she was telling us about, you know, how she had these behind the scene things in the factory. And we were like, yeah, of course, that's going to be awesome. And then their social media person was like, no, don't do it. But she still went ahead and did it. And I looked the other day, she's got 1 million views, not million literally, but like a lot of views. And it's so good though. I love it. I know that I watched it several times because it's so mesmerizing. And for what, for me or for her, for whatever, you know, owns the product, it might not be this amazing process because, you know, it's like, oh yes, they're making the product, blah blah blah. But for others that they don't know what goes behind the scene videos are great. I love behind the scene videos. That's how I'm learning a lot of the new technique that I'm doing with stop motion, is by watching behind the scene of other videographer doing the videos. And I'm like, oh, okay, I see how many increments she used. And I'm like making notes, you know, like it's great. I love it. I find them so interesting because nobody knows what goes on behind the door, you know, and you let them enter your world. And I think it's pretty
personal. It's a bit more personal, which is more engaging content, I guess. Yeah, I love it.
Sure.
What are some ways that brands could perhaps try and extract the most out of their content once they've created it? Because, you know, it can be, it can feel a little bit like social media is like the cookie monster that you need to feed all the time. It's never ending, right? So how can we get the most value out of what we take the time to produce?
Yeah, well, I think it's important to remember to have a healthy feed, and that quality is better than quantity. So don't go and post things just because they're on trend, you know, like I've seen there's this trend, you know, I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta do the trend. And you try and build the reel behind this trend that might have nothing to do with your brand or with your product, that is not relevant. So then you're spending this time creating something that really is not giving any value maybe, or it's just not related, and then people, it's disconnected, you know, and then people are like, oh, what's going on, like this is weird, like it's got nothing to do with what they normally do. So just try and do it's better to do few, you know, like let's say 3 wall feeds a week and maybe a couple of stories a day, than doing 1 post a day and 15 stories if you're not giving some good quality content or some value, you know, because people want to see that they're getting something out of it. So just try and stay true to yourself, I think, and do something that you would enjoy seeing as well, like that you find it entertaining and is making you feel good. If you're doing something that is like, oh, I feel awful doing this reel, I'm dancing to a TikTok trend, you know, it's like, oh, it's not gonna go viral, let's be honest. Or if it does, it's all for the wrong reason.
Yeah, 100%. And totally, I'm with you there on the less but better quality. I think that's you know, a great attitude, probably with all things that we do.
Yeah, true.
And then, you know, from an ad perspective as well, I'll just chime in and say that we could all put a little bit of money on this kind of video content from an, you know, to amplify the reach even further. And that's like a super easy way to get some ads out to your audience, and they're going to be really engaging and will
Yeah.
really help build the audience as well. So then it's not two different kinds of content for organic and ads. So
Yeah.
that can be super helpful. Incidentally, I actually saw Ashley from French Soda. She sent out a little spiel and a screenshot and a link about that behind the scenes video, and sent more traffic back to her social media, which I thought was a really cool way to just get
Wow.
more engagement from it. So
Yeah.
that one's
Cool.
obviously doing well for her, which is fantastic.
It's so good because she was so worried about like, oh, I should have, but you know, that's the thing. You don't know until you try. And you know, what's the worst thing that it can happen? You put it out there, it doesn't work. You can delete it.
Yeah,
Or you know, or you just move on and do
that's
something
right.
else. Yeah, but you gotta test and try different content to see what works for your audience, because you know what you might like personally, it might not be what your audience want, you know. So
100%, yes.
take a risk, try, and you know, go from there.
Yeah, totally.
Metrics, isn't it? You're all about metrics. I'm not. I suck on metrics. Anything to do with numbers, no, I don't want.
Oh, look, I think even you would have a sense of which content is landing and getting the views and the engagement versus what falls flat. So,
Yeah.
and that's the important bit. So, you know, you said before, try and just do less but better quality. Is there any kind of frequency that you would recommend for brands for, you know, how often they should create new content?
Well, I think consistency is definitely the key.
Yeah.
So you want to be consistent. That doesn't mean you have to create, you know, 10 reels a day, but you gotta be consistent. You have it to keep going. Otherwise, the algorithm and it's not gonna work. It's not gonna pick up on it. So there's no point of doing a week of all of this amazing content, which is doing so well, and then for a week you don't do anything because you're like, oh, I'm so burned out from doing all the content. I don't want to think about it,
Yes.
because then all hard work is just gone out of the window.
Yeah.
So just be consistent. I think stories on Instagram and Facebook, if you can do them every day, and if you have YouTube, it's the same for shorts. They're really growing, those ones, which are just basically you can reuse the same content from Instagram. So stories and shorts every day, little snippets, doesn't have to be fancy. You know, it can be just showing the different colors. It can be behind the scene. Like I said before, it can be packing orders.
Yeah.
And in terms of the other content, I think, you know, if you can try and do every day, if you think you have something good of good value, but don't post just for the sake of posting.
Yep.
But definitely keep a consistency. So having even a calendar that you plan ahead might help. So at least you know it's there. I know that if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen.
No, everything has to be on the calendar. But if it's there, I'll make it happen. You
Yeah.
know that. So you gotta schedule and plan ahead and be organized.
Yes. Yeah, I love it. Do you, just thinking about the calendar there, do you have any tips for how to come up with ideas for new content? And I know we did kind of talk about that in our academy group when you did the training session. But, you know, could you give us maybe a couple of tips there for coming up with those creative ideas?
Yeah, look, so behind the scene, definitely it's one.
Yep.
If you have a team that works with you, you could do a meet the team, you know, have a little introduction. Oh, you've been doing that on your feed
We have
lately, I
been,
noticed. Yes. If you have new products coming up, then do like a little sneak peek way ahead of it. Testimonials. So if you have customers that have used, you know, that it might be just they've done stories. So save the stories, you know, of them using the products, because all of those ones are so valuable. What they call it? UCG, user generated content, right? So do a collage of all of those ones. That's a great idea for a reel, you know, just a lot of different customers using the product or giving testimonial. Company culture as well is another one, you know, if you brand, especially if it's like, you know, ethical, sustainable, around that kind of thing. So make sure that you highlight those points. And well, how-to videos, you know.
Stop motion,
Sorry.
stop motion videos.
Oh, yes, stop motion videos are fantastic. Well, I was about to say the how-to video. I was about to say actually, so the how to use the product, and that's when stop motion comes in. So we've been doing a lot of those ones lately on how to use the product. Like I just finished doing Stracket new brand new products, which is launching today, not today when you see the podcast, but today as we're filming.
That's right.
Which is very exciting. And a lot of these products, you know, like Kelly from Stracker came to me and she's like, it can do so many things, but I can't have a product description that goes on for 4 pages. Nobody's gonna read it. And just by looking at an image, she's like, nobody's gonna get what it does, right? So she's like, how can we bring this to life? You know, so I'm like, right. So we sat down and said, what can you do? And she got all, you know, excited and passionate about it because she loves it's a product that she's designed, you know. She tells me all the things that it can do. And I'm like, all right, give it to me. I went home and I tried it, you know, and tried to do different things with it. And I was like, right, we can do this. So we done this huge stop motion. Usually stop motion are only like, you know, from 10 to 30, maybe 45 seconds, you know, they're quick and fast. This one is like almost 2 minutes because there are so many elements to it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long one. So it took a while. But you know, like there's not even need of anybody talking, and we don't even use text because people can't concentrate on video and text at the same time, you know, like when there's something happening. So it's literally just the product talking, you know, and doing the work and show you what can you do. I could go through all the frequently asked questions for the teeny. That's the name of the news tracker, the teeny. And the video will answer all those questions basically, you know. So it's just a video that tells you everything that it can do and what the results are by using it. And you get the feel of it, you know, when it's not in your hands. So I think when stop motions are really good is for that sort of thing, the how to or the educational products, you know, if you have several colors as well, you know, and people don't have to go through the different swatches. You've got this quick stop motion video that shows all the colors that it comes in, show from the top, from the side, behind, you know, what it can do. And they're quick, they're engaging because everybody loves a bit of animation, right? It's better than just a normal video. I don't know that I find that anyway. That's the animation stuff is just so cool.
Engaging. So cool. So I mean that's you know a handful there of really great ideas to get moving with. But what would you say you'd really like to see brands stop doing that you're seeing a lot of at the moment?
Oh yes, there are a few of those ones. So first of all, I will say stop try and replicate your competitors like we spoke before, you know, just because they're doing well at what they do with their brand doesn't mean that's going to work for you. And you know, and you're never going to win the battle of constantly trying and catch up with somebody else's because you're so concentrated on trying and do what they do that you wasting your time almost, you know. You just try and be you and come up with something original so you stand out from those competitors. And I get some that are like, can you do what such and such are doing, you know? And I'm like, well, how about we do this instead, you know? And it's good to have an idea what you like and, you know, and what you don't like. And that's great. I love when clients come to me and they're like, I really like this stuff, I really don't like this stuff. Okay, what's your product? What does it do? Let's come up with something original, you know, that stands out, because you don't want to copy what somebody else is doing. That's for sure. What else that I don't like to do?
Just doing the trends. I mean, you mentioned that before, but just jumping on trends or the latest music or
using the trend that are not related, you know, like if it's not related to your brand or to your, you know, to your ethos and everything, there's no point. Don't do it because it's just
really uncomfortable, because you know you see these people who are dancing around and it's like, Yeah, I can tell you're not really feeling it.
No, especially if it's not you. You know, if you are flamboyant
Mm,
and extroverted and you love, doing that, and you obviously people buy from you, you're right. They don't buy the product, they buy what you sell, they buy from you. So if you are that person and you want to do something flamboyant, go just for fun, that might work. But if you're not the person and you're trying to do a TikTok dance, it's kind of cringe worthy. And I've seen a few going around and it's like, oh, another thing that I find it like cringe a little bit is you see these awesome products, right? And you're like, oh, I saw this video on Instagram. I'm like, oh, this product is awesome. So I go to the website, and then the website has got really amateur photos and video on the website.
mm,
So, that content that you create and this more amatorial, basic and simple, that's great for social media. But I think on the website, if you don't have good quality photos and video on your page, you kind of lose that trust a bit. It's like, oh, it's a bit, that's, I don't know. I feel like it's worth investment having good photos and good video, at least on your website. And that kind of gives a bit more of a trust in the customer when they come and buy,
mm.
and keep that other content for like, social media, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram and all.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And the last thing I will say, don't put filters on. If a photographer has given you photos and has given you video, don't go and post them with filters. It's honestly one of the biggest insults you could do to a creator. And I know I'm talking for all photographers and videographers in there, because if you don't like the finish of something that a photographer or videographer gives you, then be like, oh, can we, change it up, make it more this, more that. But don't go and put a filter because everybody else's does on their everyday content, because
Yeah. It's probably actually not very helpful for customers to get the good, a realistic idea of the product anyway, if you put
yeah,
on it. Back in the day when people didn't generally have very great resolution on their home computers and blah blah blah. I remember working in ad agencies, and we'd spend, well, not me personally because I was never the Photoshop expert, but they'd spend hours trying to edit the colors of the photos so that they would actually show up and look realistic, and the customers wouldn't receive their product and go, but it looks green on the screen, why is it blue?
There's no excuses like that now, right? Because the cameras on the phone are so amazing, the screen,
Excuses, no.
yeah. And back in the days, it was the thing to do. Instagram filter, like filters in general, right? Every photo that you posted, you had to put a filter. You wanted all the sepia one, all the, whatever they call, you wanted to have that. And that's okay on your feeds, but that's something that you communicate with the content creator. This is my feed, this is what the field that I want, and and they can create presets around that to fit that if you want, but
Yes,
don't do things.
Love it. So give us a bit of an understanding, just from from your experience, and you've been working this new business, Snap My Brand, for a little while. What is it that you enjoy the most about doing this sort of content creation work?
Well, first of all, it's the part that when I had them on the kids was the part that I loved, was content creation, and a lot of the other things, like accounting, writing newsletters. I just writing in general and numbers, not my strength, and that's okay.
Yes.
But I still had to do them, right? Well, now I just get to do full time what I love, and I really enjoy it. And for me, the best part is when you come up with a cool idea, because a lot of people come to me and they're like, I don't know what I want. I just know I need something. I'm not creative. I don't have an eye for this is my product. What can you do? And we're like, all right, what's your budget? Let's work with your budget. Let's go from there. And I come up with some ideas, and you can see them already go like, oh my God, that is so exciting. Yeah, I can't wait to see. And then you give them the end of the product, and they just like in awe, and it's so thankful. And then you see it doing well, you see it on the website, on the social, and is doing what it needs to do, you know, and that for me is just so rewarding. I love it. And I love the challenge of having, you know, a product that might be unusual, you know,
like Strucket, for instance.
like a Strucket. I had the lovely Paula from the big age, you know, I have to photograph stubby holders basically. And I was like, I never had to do this. This is going to be interesting. How do I make a stubby holder looks cool? You know, like, because it's a stubby holder.
Yeah.
But, you know, like then we came up with some cool ideas and some different techniques to make it look super cool, you know, and I got like stamps coming for teachers, you know, that I need to do from Teacher Co. And it's just, I love the challenge. And it's like, all right, it's this little things, but I need to make it look cool and engaging. I will make people stop and look at it, you know, like, so I love the side of it. It's just gets my brain warm and fuzzy and healthy, you know, I have to work. I don't know, it's my thing.
I love it. I wanted to ask you kind of 3 final rapid-ish fire questions if you're up for it.
Okay.
And this is the first one's an interesting one because you are still kind of new with this business now. I mean, obviously you've done this type of work for a really long time, but Snap My Brand is, you know, less than a year old. So my first question is always, what advice would you give yourself back when you were in startup mode? So perhaps come at it from the angle of when you were starting up originally versus now, because it's different going around again, isn't it?
It is different, and it's very different because that was product-based business. This is service-based. So, you know, I'm learning a lot of new stuff that I need to do or how to approach things is a bit different. I think the best advice is always surround yourself with a supportive tribe. I'm always a big one for, you know, collaborating and helping others, but getting help if needed as well, and just supporting each other. And this is with other photographers as well, you know, like it's not about competing and having competitors. You can all work together. I mean, even when I had them on the kids, like me and Jade, a really good friend, and she's technical competitor. She was doing children dinnerware. Eleanor, from We Might Be Tiny, was doing children dinnerware. And, you know, we all connected, you know, and help each other out in a way. So definitely that one. And then I think I have this quote in my home gym as well on a big whiteboard, and it's my motto is don't complain about the results you didn't get, but the work you didn't do. And it's a big one for me because it's the same with business, you know, like you can't expect to have, in your case, the results from Facebook ads and Google ads if you don't put in the work of creating your customer journey, your avatar, and looking at the metrics, right? Or you have to put in the work in order to get the results that you want. And it's the same with anything in life, but in business, definitely, you know, I'm constantly learning, you know, training, getting mentoring and experimenting and see, you know, failing as well, but in order to get better. And I think that's the best advice is just, you gotta put in the work. You can't, those posts that you see, get $7 figure in 24 hours. If they sound too good, they're not good. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I want to get that quote up on my wall as well. That's amazing.
It's so good. Like my 8-year-old now repeats it all the time. I can hear her tell it to her friends when they try and doing gymnastic stuff. And she's like, well, you can't complain about the results you didn't get by the work you didn't do. And then the moms are all looking at me like, this one is a Sharon.
Yes, I don't actually think I'd need to tell my kids either because they drive themselves now with the whole swimming stuff.
That's good.
Love it. So off the back of that then, what would you say would be one of the best decisions you've made in business? And you can pull that from your whole business career.
That would be take a risk. Every time, you know, like I took a risk when I started among the kids. You know, I was on maternity leave with a little one. My husband was working and I wasn't. And I've invested the little that I had in starting this product, which was a crazy idea, right? And then I sold them on the kids thinking I'm going to go full time on photography. Like it wasn't guaranteed, you know, like I don't have a degree in photography, you know, I studied fashion and fine art back in the days. But you know, like I'm learning a lot of it by myself and with some mentorings. But it was a big thing, right? I sell the business, it's my income, you know, it's my full-time business, and I sold it. And you know, follow your guts and take a risk, because if you're waiting for something to be the perfect moment or for the products to be perfect, somebody else is gonna do them before you. So you just gotta take risks.
You have taken these risks over this, you know, over the years, and it's changed your life. So
They paid off, absolutely. Like, and not all of them. Sometimes I take a risk and it didn't work out as well.
sometimes
But
we fall on our butt, and you know, you have to
it's
get up
part of learning. What doesn't kill you make you stronger. Let's add another quarter to the list. It's true though. It's so true. And I see so many people and speak to so many people that are like, oh, I don't want to do this. Da, 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 da. I want to do this, and then do it. Oh no, it's not the right moment. We have to do this and we have to do that. Sometimes that's not a right moment. It's like when you have a baby, right? It's not a right moment to have a baby. It's gonna turn your life upside down no matter what. So you just wing it, fake until you make it.
That's it.
Yeah, that would be my biggest one. Supportive tribe, and don't be afraid to take a risk.
Love it. I love it. So I have a last question for you. This one hopefully will be an easy, no-brainer question. And it's, what do you love about being a business owner or being your own boss?
Oh, well, you know, the usual, the flexibility, you know, being able to go to the school parade when the little one is getting an award, or if she's sick, you know, and I don't have to apologize to somebody else's, you know, to stay home. I can work around it. And I got a studio at home, so I work from home, you know, if there's lockdown, bad weather, whatever, you know, I can still hustle. And it's just, I don't know, it's very rewarding. It's hard because it's not, you know, rainbows and unicorn. We all know that it's you're not doing it because it's less hours, you know. You say there's a flexibility, yes there is, but really being realistic is 24/7, right? You sign up for a 24/7 job, but it's so much more rewarding. And if you're lucky enough to do what you love, I think, you know, you can't ask for more.
Yes. Yeah. Love it. So for any of our listeners who want to come and kind of connect with you or check out some of your work, where should they find you online?
So mainly on Instagram and Facebook under Snap My Brand. I am finishing up my website, so hopefully it'll be finished soon. But you know, watch this space for that one. Because you know, it's like starting all over again. Try and learn to do that step.
Yeah.
But yeah, mostly on Instagram. That's where you'll find me the most, and on Facebook. Send me a message or a DM, and you know, just do it in advance. If anybody needs some work, then just remember to book in advance, because we can't drop everything tomorrow and do everything tomorrow. So yes, let's plan together, you know, and strategize and
that's it.
Come up with something cool.
Well, I think, you know, what we've spoken about today has definitely painted the picture of, first of all, the value of having really great content, particularly video, but all of the product photography as well. But equally that, you know, the best way to get the best content is to think in advance and to have those ideas together before just, you know, literally just trying to pick up a phone and taking snaps on your desk. It's not like that. So definitely I would encourage listeners to go and check out Sharon's Instagram page and some of her work. So she's we'll link to that obviously from the podcast show notes page, and if your website's live, we'll have that link in there too.
If I can work it out, how to make it work.
All good, all good. You know, it's a bit like in our house, it's the pharmacist who never has any Panadol in the cupboard. So
yeah, I love it.
Thank you for joining us again on the show. It's been
Thank you for having me again.
So really exciting to see you thrive in this new business and doing what you love, and also transforming some of the brands that we work with as well, and helping them with their content. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing my story with your audience.